Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. On behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you joined us for our AI and Technology Conference. Our next live presentation is from Volatus Aerospace. Please note you can submit questions for the presenter in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings by clicking Book a Meeting in the top toolbar. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Glenn Lynch. He is the President and Chief Executive Officer of Volatus Aerospace, which trades on the OTCQX Best Market under the symbol TAKOF and on the TSXV under the symbol FLT. Welcome, Glenn.
Thanks, John. And thanks, everyone, for joining us here this morning. My name's Glenn. I'm the CEO of Volatus Aerospace. Little about me, I'm a 40-year veteran of commercial aviation and one of the original founders of Volatus. I'm super excited to be here to introduce our Volatus and tell you a little bit about our story and our strategic vision for the future. We have a relatively short time together, 30 minutes, so I'm going to try and keep my presentation to about a little better than 15 minutes to leave time for questions, and I really invite you to ask any questions in the Q&A box. So before we proceed, please note that today's discussions include forward-looking statements. These statements involve risks and uncertainties that could cause actual results to differ materially from projected results. These forward-looking statements are a reflection of our views as of today. For more information, please visit the investor section of our website, and that's www.volatusaerospace.com. Okay, we'll jump right in. Tell you a little bit about Volatus. Volatus Aerospace is redefining the landscape for aerial intelligence and logistics. We do that through the use of both piloted aircraft and helicopters and drones, delivering innovative solutions that meet real-world demands of our customers. Now, while we own significant intellectual property and R&D is part of our DNA, our primary focus is on commercialization and delivery of practical, scalable solutions, basically identifying real-world problems, solving them, and generating revenue as a result of that. As a point of pride, we were recognized as the second top growth story in Canada in 2024 by the Globe and Mail, which is our country's leading news publication. I think that's a testament to the focus of our team in creating value through revenue-generating activities. Looking at our capitalization table as of December 31st, I want to highlight a couple of key points. First of all, as John mentioned, we trade on OTCQX under TAKOF, TAKOF, and Toronto Venture Exchange under FLT, so flight and takeoff. We have a market cap of approximately $57 million US. And from an equity structure standpoint, I think we have a healthy balance between insider and public holdings, with about 29% of the company on a fully diluted basis still held by insiders. The other thing I think that's notable is our ESOP RSU program. All of our full-time employees participate in the ESOP and RSU programs. So basically, everybody in Volatus Aerospace has skin in the game, which basically makes sure that our interests are aligned with those of our shareholders to create long-term value. A little bit about our business model. So we consider ourselves to be an integrator providing comprehensive aerial solutions. So our business model is structured around three business units. There's our solution sales, training, and turnkey services. So in the solution sales, our focus there is on delivering cutting-edge technology, some of which are our own and some are our partners. We have a large suite of partners that I'll talk about in a minute. And ultimately tailoring these systems to the specific operational needs of our clients, as well as providing them with the aftermarket support and maintenance services that are necessary. In our training activities, we equip both internal and external customers. So training is not just for external revenue generation, but also for the support of our internal operations to supply our customers and pilots with the necessary skills and knowledge to maximize the utility of the technologies, making sure that they achieve, ultimately the ideal operational efficiency to be able to meet the demands of our customers and in some cases their own. Our services division, which is a key focus, provides clients with the aerial intelligence and logistics services that they need to keep their operations running. We're going to talk some more about this as we get going. And we also provide consultation on regulations, basically helping others stand up or improve their newer existing drone programs. It's a holistic model that simplifies the customer experience, also fosters customer stickiness, repeat business, and expanding engagements, especially with our larger long-term clients. The approach allows us to offer effectively an end-to-end ecosystem that addresses the specific needs of our customers. So what makes us different? I'd say the first thing that makes us different is, as a commercial drone company, is our focus on revenue. So we are revenue generating. We'll release our 2024 numbers later on this month. In 2023, we generated about $24 million US, a little better than that, with a 32% gross margin. Gross margin is expected to continue to grow over time. But the key things that make us different, if I was giving the elevator pitch, are the fact that we're an experienced commercial aviation operator, both of piloted and remotely piloted aircraft. So we're still a commercial aircraft operator running commercial fixed-wing airplanes with pilots, helicopters, same thing. Represents about 30% of our business. About 70% of our business still comes from remotely piloted aircraft, or what we commonly refer to as drones. We're a technology agnostic integrator, which basically takes us from the aircraft to the analytics. Our objective is to deliver end-to-end solutions and capabilities that meet the needs of the customers, which we'll talk about here in a couple of minutes. We have proven regulatory expertise. This is one that's worth pausing on for a minute, because it's one of the things that our industry talks about a lot, are regulatory restrictions that impair our ability to scale. Basically what happened is, when drones were first introduced, they largely were populating, they fell into two categories: weapons of mass destruction at the military end, and then toys at all the big box stores at Best Buy and so on. As consumers started gobbling up these drones in the tens of thousands, regulators around the world turned around and said, okay, we better get control of it. It's highly unregulated. How do we avoid interference with kind of what we would consider maybe the traditional commercial aviation and recreational aviation traffic, piloted aviation? So what they did is they introduced a series of regulations that were basically segregating remotely piloted aircraft drones from piloted aircraft. So they restricted them to below 400 feet, where airplanes are not supposed to be, outside of controlled airspace. They had to be flown within the visual line of sight of the pilot, and they limited the weight to 55 pounds. Now, in our case, because of our regulatory background as a commercial aviation company, we're one of the few companies, not the only, but one of the few companies that's been able to obtain waivers and authorities that allow us to operate over 55 pounds, so larger drones above 400 feet, and beyond the visual line of sight of the pilot, so operating drones at a longer distance in given circumstances. This has allowed us to operate medical deliveries in busy airspace at an international airport. And in another case, we're actually operating medical deliveries over a large urban community without the need for visual observers. And that's ultimately why I refer to regulatory as being an expertise. The last one is a global footprint, and that'll segue into the next slide. So this gives you a picture of Volatus. Volatus has permanent staff operations right across Canada, scattered around the United States, a good concentration in the UK, and we service the European Union and Africa out of our operation in Norway, as well as supported by the UK. We have a presence in Latin America, based out of Lima, Peru, and that gives you an idea of our overall footprint. A key point between our regulatory strength, our background as a commercial aircraft operator, and our global footprint, and when you combine all of the above, it gives us a strong customer stickiness with a growing base of long-term clients. So when we look at our market analysis, we concentrate, there's lots of reports out there that tell you how big the drone industry is. I'm just basically going to tell you that it's significant. We focus on our serviceable obtainable market, which we estimate to be about 1.8 billion. And I'm going to run through three of the sectors that we have up here. So oil and gas is by far our largest sector. So what do we do there? We monitor and inspect critical infrastructure, including the environmental monitoring of more than 1 million miles, 1 million linear miles of pipeline. And a key point here, so it's pipeline, storage facilities, refineries, so there's kind of outside of the fence and inside of the fence. And for us, it's not just about collecting data, but turning the data into actionable intelligence through a proprietary software platform we have that's ultimately critical for our clients from an environmental standpoint, from a regulatory compliance standpoint, and for an asset management, for the asset management folks as well. In the power utility sector, which is a rapidly growing space for us, we utilize our fleet to monitor vast stretches of infrastructure, in some cases entire states or provinces. This includes everything from routine inspections to emergency call out for damage assessments following natural disaster. One of our strengths is our ability to deploy with minimal notice, which reduces downtime and operational risks for our clients. The third one I'll touch on here is drone delivery. We've gained substantial traction in the healthcare sector, providing time-critical deliveries. So this not only includes current delivery to hospitals and urban areas, but also the future of serving remote locations where traditional delivery methods are not feasible. The impact here is profound, with the potential to become a lifeline for communities with limited access to essential health services. The recurring revenue from these sectors is bolstered by long-term contracts and strong relationships with our clients. And if you want to say, okay, where's this going? What's the possibility? I frequently refer to our sales pipeline. So this is not business that we have. These are active files that we're chasing. So in terms of, to give you a background, our sales team is about 17 strong, scattered around the regions that I talked about earlier, with 4 full-time people dedicated in marketing. So we're a very strong commercial team. And on a 12-month rolling average, they're currently chasing about $360 million worth of pipeline that are at various stages of development. These are quotes, proposals, RFP, tender responses. This is the time of year we do get a lot of tender calls for both the oil and gas and power utility sector specifically. The point I want to make here is the industry is far too nascent for us to be able to say at this point what kind of a conversion can be expected from this, but suffice it to say that there's a significant amount of business being worked on and a lot of opportunity continuing to escalate there. This is an interesting piece of our business. So surveillance as a service, I'm going to try and run a slide here that should help us get a better picture of this. I've got an active video, forgive me. Let's see how this works. There we go. So tell you a little bit about what you're looking at there. I think everybody is aware of all of the challenges that have been happening in the news with respect to border surveillance and all of the challenges on the northern and southern borders in United States. This is obviously true in a lot of countries, not just in the US, where border surveillance is a concern. So as a result of all of the extra noise around that space, we developed a service offering, which is basically surveillance as a service. It represents a transformational approach to aerial intelligence, particularly important in the area of border surveillance and security applications. What we do is leverage sophisticated technologies that are integrated from our recent merger with Drone Delivery Canada, combined with the advanced technologies of several key partners, to allow us to offer enhanced capabilities in each of these areas. The OCC, or Operations Control Center, we have is a pivotal asset that we obtained through the merger, and it's been instrumental in helping us deploy these surveillance systems. So the technology allows us to monitor extensive border regions with precision to provide real-time data that's essential for national security and public safety. We're obviously promoting this pretty heavily right now. Additionally, we have nesting stations, or basically ground-based infrastructure technologies that allow prolonged and resilient operations along borders. These stations enable drones to recharge and shelter without having to be returned to base or without human intervention on site, allowing us continuous surveillance over vast and potentially challenging areas. The capabilities, I would say, crucial for maintaining persistent surveillance along borders, detecting movements, and responding promptly to any security breaches. Our service is really beyond what traditional surveillance would be. It's somewhat more comprehensive, where we're monitoring for illegal activities, managing migration flows, supporting disaster response efforts. And this is through the use of both drones, piloted aircraft, and helicopters, and ground-based sensors, all integrated into or consolidated into a single visualization platform in our operations control center. So through these applications, our surveillance as a service not only demonstrates our commitment to leveraging technology for societal safety, but also positioning us at the forefront of global security challenges. Hopefully that has moved us to the next slide. I'm just going to make sure that that pops up. All right, going to talk about our partnerships next. So partnerships are a key part of our strategy to deliver comprehensive commercialized aerial solutions. By collaborating closely with our partners, we focus on rapidly testing, iterating, and building models that not only meet the expectations of the clients, but exceed them in real-world applications, making sure that our solutions are both innovative and immediately applicable and relevant to what's going on. So key among our partners are Kongsberg Geospatial, which provides our intelligence, our aggregated intelligence situational awareness platform. Matrix Space, an American company that provides radar solutions that integrate to give us operational situational awareness. And Ondas Holdings, another Massachusetts-based company that develops probably one of the most advanced nesting stations or ground-based fully automated infrastructure in our industry. So we put all of these together. It enhances our technological edge and allows us to introduce, how would I say, more fully comprehensive solutions to our end-use customers. The end use, again, back to the original idea of kind of putting together our overall strategy of consolidating technologies from all of our partners into a fully integrated solution to address a specific requirement. If we look at DroneUp, that's another American company that's really an American technology company. It's expected to play an important part in our service delivery for cargo, particularly in the US market. Their operational platforms and logistics solutions enhance our ability to deliver precise, efficient, and rapid drone services across various sectors, from healthcare right through to emergency response. We're also working with companies like Dufour Aerospace, Dragonfly, and Rigatech, integrating advanced aerial vehicles into our solutions. Dufour's tilt-wing drones, for example, and Rigatech's long-range delivery capabilities are examples of how our technologies can be integrated to create holistic solutions that are addressing extensive operational needs, from urgent medical deliveries to remote cargo delivery. Together with these partners, Volatus is able to offer not just pieces of technology, but complete end-to-end solutions. The collaborations enable us to rapidly deploy tested and proven solutions that bring immediate value to our clients, particularly in the US, where there's a critical focus on enhancing technological capabilities for security, logistics, and infrastructure management. Now, I'm a bit concerned that you're not seeing the next slide. I'm going to assume that you are. This is our conclusion. As we draw to the close, I want to take a minute and tell you why Volatus stands out as a premier investment opportunity in the aerial solutions sector. We're not merely participants, we're pioneers. We blend piloted and remotely piloted aircraft within a framework that's supported by significant intellectual property. Our ability to deliver comprehensive solutions, I think, is what sets us apart, ensuring diversified revenue streams and a solid market position. We understand the landscape of our industry. We proactively manage potential risks such as regulatory changes and supply chain disruptions. And our strategic planning and risk management is designed to navigate the challenges safely, which safeguards our operations and your investment. We're on a trajectory to redefine the standards of aerial solutions globally. By investing in Volatus, you're supporting a visionary company with strong leadership team and a dedicated commitment to revenue and innovation. I hope you'll join us as we continue to expand our reach and capabilities and secure our position as the world's leading provider of aerial solutions. With your support, we can propel ourselves on this exciting journey and enable significant growth and continuing innovation. I personally invite you to be part of the future and help us meet and exceed the expectations of this this dynamic industry. So with that, I'm going to move to some questions. And just let me switch over to that box. I think we have about 10 minutes left. So one question, can you confirm when the next financial reporting will take place? Thank you, Michael. We are due to file, I believe, the 28th of April. It's before the end of this month is our regulatory filing deadline, and we're on track, just completing our audit, but that'll be happening in the next few weeks. So key milestones for 2025, Matteo, thank you. We have a lot of them. There's a number of major projects that are ongoing at this moment. We're bidding on a lot of large-scale projects. That's basically what's happened over time. Our capabilities with respect to kind of expanding our ability to fly larger drones beyond visual line of sight, operate them remotely from our remote operations center. I should pause on that for a second. We're continuing to integrate that into our existing operations because it allows us to have better logistics, better gross margins, a competitive advantage by allowing our operators to a more efficient deployment exercise, because everything's operated from a single location. And really the concept is not just one operator operating many drones, but one operator operating, or excuse me, many operators running many drones from a constant location supported by strong technology. In our OCC, for example, our Operations Control Center, we have 20 operator stations operated in a theater type environment that looks an awful lot like mission control. So we continue to see some strong opportunities in improving our margins and improving our competitive positions. The other thing that we're doing is we're starting to stretch into new markets, like Africa, for example, where the use of drones, the regulations are more accommodating and the demands from a human standpoint are quite significant. I have a question from Danielle about how we're finding talent and partners to grow the business. You know, I oftentimes say in the early days of our business, I spent most of my life with lures in the water, fishing for opportunities. We've now become recognized as somewhat of an acquisitive company. We've completed 19 acquisitions since we started. Represents about 50% of our growth comes from acquisition, 50% is from our strong commercial team. But as a rule of thumb now, we don't have to cast lines into the waters. A lot of the opportunities present themselves to us. There's an awful lot of traction that's being gained just from what we're doing. I had a question about most important verticals and where the low-hanging fruit is. I would say oil and gas, we have an extraordinary penetration there. We've got a large number of contracts or contracts with a large number of the major oil and gas companies, oil and gas engineering and pipeline operators. I would say we're one of the biggest, if not the largest in Canada, and we've expanded in the United States. We're currently doing pipeline patrols all the way from North Dakota, all the way down to Texas. So I think we'll see us continuing to grow in that space and expanding our capabilities in terms of what we're able to do in the areas of methane detection and orphan wells and so on and so on. Also in the power utility space, as the infrastructure is aging and climate change continues to haunt us with things like wildfires, this becomes a bigger and bigger area of activity. So that's another area for big growth. And cargo, I think the ability to commercialize technologies like DO4, for example, and Rigatech where we've got the ability to carry, let's say 40 kilograms or, almost, let's say 100 pounds for 600 miles, it starts to become a significant opportunity for us to deliver to remote communities. I think cargo will become, in the years to come, it'll be one of our biggest sectors. It's still early days in the cargo space, but we are generating revenue in that space. I have a question here about, as I have a couple of questions that are asking about tariffs specifically and how they impact our business. So I invite anybody that's really interested to go to our website. We held a webinar called Navigating Geopolitical Changes that we did a week ago. And we talk an awful lot about how we see the impact of our current geopolitical situation in North America and around the world, and how we see that impacting our industry and us as a company. So for the most part, while there's obviously threats that have to do with changing circumstances, I would say there's even more opportunities that come from it. And I use border surveillance as an example. But our strategy for dealing with that is largely to align in individual countries with the interests of that country. So for example, in the United States, we're very much focused on, in the US, by our US team, using US assets to do the work. So really America first, aligned with the current administration's objectives. In Canada, similarly right now, because of some of the uncertainties with trade, and that got a little bit less concerning yesterday, but with some of those uncertainties, we're focusing much more on Canadian technologies, and in some cases, other countries that we're aligned with that have similar circumstances. But the idea being is, rather than to try and fight those opportunities or fight the geopolitical changes, it's understanding them, adapting to them, and ultimately benefit from the from things that arise from that. I have a question from Skip on what are our expectations for drone delivery over the next few years and opportunities for Volatus. Skip, it's a great question. This is one I could probably do an entire webinar on. So drones, pilots, we have a global pilot shortage right now. So it's going to become more and more important that we're able to do deliveries, cargo type deliveries, using autonomous or semi-autonomous vehicles. I say semi-autonomous because it's likely that human beings will be on the loop, monitoring and providing the instructions, rather than in the loop operating the aircraft, as I have most of my life as a pilot. But I think you're going to see the big areas of gain. We're obviously very heavy right now in the intelligence community, whether that's inspections, imaging, mapping, survey, surveillance. That's all the areas we generate a lot of revenue from now. The next major growth area is going to be cargo. And if I remember, and I'm pulling this out of my memory here, so take it with a grain of salt, but I believe the middle mile space right now for cargo is about a $280 billion US industry. And ultimately using drones, not just currently it's to deliver to remote communities, because everything in safety is risk-based. You're flying over areas that don't have dense populations. Those are areas we can get approvals to fly remotely piloted drones now. In the long term, this will become more and more common, more and more comfortable for the community, for society, and for the regulators. And that will allow us to use drones to conduct middle mile cargo deliveries. And there's some exciting developments in the United States with companies like Nautilus out of San Diego, California, where they're building an aircraft called a Kona. That's a 19,000 pound cargo aircraft that reduces the cost of cargo by about 54%. That's probably close to the 2030 timeframe. They've got, last count, there were over $6 billion in expressions of interest. Production slot number 1 belongs to Volatus. We've seen as a company the opportunity in that space for several years now. Still a few years out, but very, very big opportunity coming. I think we're down to just a minute, so I'm going to try and wind this up a little bit. I'm going to talk, I would invite, we've got so many questions here, I wish I had another half hour to answer them all. So what I'd like to do is invite everybody to reach out to us if we haven't been able to answer your questions. Send us those questions at investorrelations@volatusaerospace.com, and those will make it to me. And if I don't answer them directly, it'll be one of our senior executives. We very much treat our shareholders as our partners. I am a major shareholder, so you are my partners if you're invested. And frankly, I just want to thank everybody for joining us here today. And I hope to receive some of your questions, and I hope some of you will choose to jump in and join Volatus Aerospace. Thank you very much.